Hello, Dawn.
Hello, Jenny.
Hi. So it's my pleasure here today to introduce Dawn Campbell, the director of the IAPC&M, and she's here today to talk about accreditation and all the questions that students often have around accreditation, because I do get a lot of students asking me how it's relevant, why it's relevant, and which accreditation is important, because there's lots of different coaching organisations and bodies. So yeah, and I'm Jenny Rowlands, and I run a course a couple of times a year, which is Mindfulness Life Coaching, and of course it's an accredited course with the IAPC&M. So I guess I need to be clear about this too, don't I, Dawn? So
Yep. So I've put together a little agenda for you and your students. We're just very quickly going to run through the difference between accreditation, certification, and as you say, why your status even matters, why you would choose the IAPC&M, and the routes to accreditation and the benefits, and what is the process, and when your students can apply. So typically those are the questions that you've asked me.
yeah. So accreditation versus certification, because this can get a little bit confusing. First, we're dealing with a certificate. So there's a difference between being a certified coach and a certified coach who's done an accredited course. So can you explain that for the benefit of my potential students, Dawn, please?
Of course, yeah. I think that the simplest way to look at it is in the field of education. When you go to university, the university has been accredited by an independent third party in order to allow them to give certificates of diploma, degrees, etc. to their students. So students of your accredited course, Jenny, come away with a certificate, and on it says you have attended an accredited course, an IAPC&M accredited course. That means you've invested in yourself as part of that criteria for having your course accredited, which means that your students, your potential students, when they're looking at your course or another course, can think, right, well, this one's got like a kite mark of quality standards. It's been accredited by an independent third party. Therefore, it's a best in class course, as opposed to somebody just randomly writing a course and putting it out there on the internet. So you've invested in having your course accredited, authenticated, verified, and assessed by somebody who's independent. And that's the same with your students. So once you've given them the certificate, not just of attendance, but of completion, of understanding that they've successfully passed your course, that then enables them to apply for their faster track reduced fee to their personal accreditation. So they would then go through the process themselves. So that's it in its simplest terms.
Well, that makes sense, because I guess for me that would be an important factor. Is that, I know that the person who's running it, or the course provider, has gone through some kind of verification system, and the standards and everything has been approved, because it is about standards. Because let's face it, anyone can just put a course together and sell it online.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, essentially, that anyone can do that. So yeah. So why is your accreditation status so important? So and I guess this is referring to accredited coaches, isn't it? Because there's a difference between doing an accredited course, isn't there, Dawn, and then being an accredited coach following that course.
Exactly. And it kind of links with what you were just saying about the accreditation versus the certification, that anybody can write a course. Anybody can call themselves a coach, but increasingly being accredited is becoming a massive differentiator in the eyes of the hiring public. So whether that's a student who's considering your course versus an online course that is not accredited, versus a member of the public who's thinking, I will hire Jenny as a coach, or I will hire Joe Bloggs as a coach. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be looking through the criteria. Are they properly trained? Are they insured? Are they professionally accredited, etc.? And how do you know that? Well, it means they're part of an international directory who has independently verified that they meet the standards to deliver what they say they're going to deliver. So your accreditation status matters hugely when you throw open the doors and say, hey world, hire me, or hey world, buy my course, because what else does the public have to go on, really? And it's just the same as if you were hiring a colonic therapist, a driving instructor, an accountant, a dentist, you know, somebody in the medical profession. You know, you want to know that they are not just calling themselves a coach. So if we take the UK, for instance, there's 130,000 people calling themselves coaches. How do we know if they're properly trained? How do we know if they're insured? We know very, very few of them are professionally accredited. So that's how you know if you're dealing with a best-in-class practitioner. So it's somebody who has signed up to some professional standards. They've had their training, their certificates, their experience, all recognized, authenticated, validated, and assessed. So it means that they've got a degree of capability and credibility to offer what they say they're doing. It means they've got the integrity to go through an independent assessment review, rather than just saying, you know, I'm a coach. It means they've adhered to a set of standards and ethics, and they've signed to a professional code of conduct, just as you do if you're a lawyer or a doctor or any other profession. Why should the talking business be any different? So ultimately, it's about pride. It shows your client that you care about protecting them, particularly in the event that there's a dispute. And let's face it, you know, there are complaints sometimes. You know, you didn't get what you expected. So if you have signed up to a body, then it means you've got a complaints procedure in place. You've got a structure in the event it needs to be escalated to your accreditation body and then to the industry ombudsman. If you're not professionally trained, if you're not insured, if you're not professionally accredited, where does your client go then? So it's really important. You know this because you went through this with your course, but you know, your students need to now think about when they throw open the doors and say, hey, world, hire me, how are their clients going to perceive them if they're not insured, if they're not accredited, if they don't think that's important? I mean, at least they're properly trained by an independently assessed trainer, so that does help. So that's a quick overview of why it matters and who it matters to.
Well, I think you've covered everything there, because for me, it's about being accountable as a professional to practice ethically and safely. And I think you've said it all there, really. And it is about integrity. It's having integrity and taking oneself seriously, because this is about working in a professional way, isn't it? There are so many people that could just quite easily call themselves a coach, because it's not a regulated profession.
No, that's right.
So, yeah,
and this is what you're up against. You know, when your coaches qualify and they're thinking, how do I cope with the sales and marketing? How do I get my message out there? How do I create my brand? Well, obviously, if you're accredited and you're aligned to an accreditation body, half the work is done for you, because you've got your certificate, you get your logo, you get your professional code of conduct. You can download a complaints procedure. You can have all sorts of things that already help you. Whereas if you're just one of 130,000 people out there calling themselves coaches because they're very good at listening, very good at giving advice, etc., etc., so they've kind of missed the point as to what coaching is, but they're calling themselves coaching.
Yeah,
a very crowded, noisy space out there, Jenny. So, you know, accreditation creates that differentiator. And you're absolutely right. It's about accountability.
Yeah, which is, it's very important to me. Coming from a professional background, I understand it. I understand the importance of it. So why choose IAPC&M? This is a question that's been asked so many times
Mm.
of anybody who's interested in my course. Well, you know, they've already maybe done their research and looked at a number of different coaching bodies, but it's, you know, what's different, what stands out about the IAPC&M.
Mm. Well, obviously, you're
Um,
the best person to tell them because you've done your due diligence and you've made your
yeah,
choice. So you could probably promote it better than most. But what we would say
yeah,
is that we're unique in so much as we're a specialist. We're totally independent. It's
yeah,
our core business. So what I mean by that is that in 1998, a group of coaches and mentors got together to support coaches and mentors in what was a largely unregulated market. Accreditation is all we do. So we're not in competition with the likes of you, Jenny. We don't have a course to plug. We don't say you've got to come on our course in order to become accredited. So accreditation is all we do. We're independent in so much as we are still a body of coaches and mentors doing this for the industry. We don't have shareholders that we've got to report to every month who want to go ka-ching, 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 how many sales have you made? It's not about that for us. We've got that luxury of being able to focus on the service. Hence, you know, from the feedback that we've had from our members, it's very much a Rolls-Royce service. Our members say that we're the most caring, sharing, hands-on, practical, available
yeah,
support resource they've ever come across. And that means so much when we know our members are also members of other accreditation bodies, because let's face it, you get different things from different bodies. Just
yeah,
as a writer, subscribe to Writing News, I get different writing magazines every quarter because they give me slightly different things. So somebody like Monique here, who's a member of another accreditation body in the States, she says she's got a way more exposure and opportunities from her IAPC&M membership. So we hear this constantly, that, you know, some accreditation bodies and communities are impenetrable, they're expensive,
mm,
and they charge for CPD credits, etc., etc., etc. We don't do any of that. We are available. We hold your hand. We're there for your journey from practitioner to senior to master to fellow. Your CPD credits are free. Our aims and objectives essentially are to be the best and offer the best service provision to the coaches and the public. So the public is very much at the forefront of everything we do. Who is the end user? First, do no harm. Who is going to benefit? How do we help our practitioners actually deliver on that? And we're the only accreditation body in the whole world approved by the British Industry Ombudsman. That holds quite a lot of sway in some countries, like Northern European countries, Asian countries, etc. So those are just some of the reasons why people should choose IAPC&M. But like you, they should go away and do their due diligence, do their research, and
mm.
speak to people and find out who had the energy, who had the passion, who had the support, you know, to meet your needs. It's not a transactional relationship by any means. It's very much a relationship for us.
Yeah, and it's like a family to
It
me.
is.
I think
Yeah.
that the networking opportunities are phenomenal, but also the three things that stood out for me about the IAPC&M is accessibility, approachability, and authenticity. The three A's.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
yeah.
that, for me, those three things stand out about this particular organisation, and I'm still here
Yeah.
some years later.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, so it's I know that I can always call you.
Mm.
We'll call upon you for support, and David as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's nothing seems to be too much trouble, and there's no hidden agendas, which is what I like. You know, you do exactly what um, you say you do on the tin,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that feedback. And no additional fees either.
And no, yeah, no hidden additional fees. Yes, exactly. So, so there's two routes to accreditation.
There is.
There's the route. Well, I actually went through both routes. Um, Oh, are we looking at the same thing here? Because
Yeah,
I
you
bec-
went through
had
the
to become
portfolio
accredited.
route because we didn't know you and
Yeah,
we didn't know who you trained with. But your students
exactly.
will go through number one, the accredited training provider course route, because we know who your students trained with. So there's two routes to
Yeah,
accreditation. We created the portfolio route, Jenny, so that we were more inclusive. Because let's face it, some people have been coaching for years in the corporate world, but then would come on your course for a formal qualification. So we wanted to be able to say to people who didn't have formal qualifications, if you've got the capability to deliver that coaching, then we're open to discussing with you your accreditation needs and
yeah,
be that much more inclusive. And that also covers things like, you know, some people are dyslexic, for instance, so they're rubbish at exams like myself. So that just
yeah.
means we're more accessible and inclusive.
Great. So there's lots of opportunities there. There's 4 levels of accreditation. Could you just very briefly take us through the different levels?
Sure.
Well, I guess it's sort of quite self-explanatory, really, isn't it? Because you
Yeah.
need
It's hours
it's,
based.
it's hours based, and yeah, based on how much practice, how many practice hours as well, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So
You
most
do.
students coming through an accredited training provider like yourself, Jenny, will come through APC, Accredited Practitioner Coach. So they've got 60 hours training and 60 hours on their log, their coaching log of practical study buddy, practice with family and friends, pro bono coaching, and so on.
Yeah,
But we also recognize that sometimes, as I said, you're going to get somebody who's worked in the corporate world, coaching in-house, but has never been on a formal coaching
yeah,
course or wants that formal accreditation because they're going freelance. They might apply to be eligible for a senior or master because of the hours that they've accrued over the years. So we've got 4 routes. And again, as you can see, it's through the accredited trainer route, or it's the portfolio route. So the accredited trainer route is reduced fee because it's less work for us and therefore less cost because you've already invested in having your course accredited.
excellent. Yeah,
All right.
so they can start off as an accredited practitioner with
And
just
work their
60
way up.
hours, and that can include the skills practice that they do on my course.
Absolutely.
What we do is they're coaching each other on my course.
Yeah,
So
yeah, all the study buddy, pro bono, practical
everybody, yeah,
practice, all counts. We're not at all prescriptive. What I would say, because you'll probably still be using this video next year, is that January the 1st, all these fees will be going up £100. So where it says
right.
297 at the moment, it's going to be 397 come January the 1st.
All right, so get in there quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay. So the added benefits of being a
Yeah.
member, which I kind of briefly talked about in terms of the opportunities and the networking,
Mm.
but there are, you know, there is a lot of value, isn't there, to being a member
Huge,
of the
huge.
IAPC?
I mean, 3 or 4
Yeah,
years ago when David and I took over running the organization, uh, I don't remember there being anything like this. I mean, I did a return on investment statement at the end of each year, and the January statement for 2020 was over £6,000. So you've paid your
yeah,
297. And then the next year onwards, you pay 140 for your annual renewal fee, and that hasn't gone up for years, and there's no plans for it to go up. You get a massive return on investment. So firstly, there's a leaflet you can download, but it's evolving pretty quickly, to be honest. And when you do become successfully accredited, you get your checklist, which is 4 or 5 pages of working your way through the different stages, acclimatizing yourself with the website and how you can use this as part of your marketing material.
yeah,
I've put our book here, Jenny, because you know, I was listening to members and I just wanted to share how reactive and proactive we are, that a lot of members want to be authors, but perhaps they don't have a whole grown-up book in them. So we put a weekly bulletin out there saying who would like to write a book. We had about 80 people respond. We interviewed, whittled it down to 7, the magnificent 7, as I call them, and we project managed writing this book. and it's a heart-led book. It's very much about, sorry, I've got a fly wafting around, relations rather than transactional customers. So how do you market? How do you do heartfelt marketing, heartfelt sales, and so on? So I think it's actually ended up being a great little business handbook for new coaches and mentors. In addition, we've got, in preparation for your assessment call, last year we created, I kind of joke, we created 11 hours worth of CPD calls for a 30-minute coaching assessment call, but it's fantastic. The feedback that we got, from master coaches saying it was a great reminder, from practitioners, they were saying, I wish I'd learned this on my course. Very, very powerful. So you can listen to that, and that helps you better prepare for your assessment. And all our members have access to the Business of Coaching complimentary self-teach 12-month modular e-program, because we recognized there was a gap in the market. Jenny, you train them to be great coaches, but not all of them have the business acumen to turn that into a reality and have a thriving business. So our head of education put together these 12 modules on everything that you need when you're starting out, in terms of how do I price myself, how do I write a business plan, and that's all in writing, with videos, with sub videos from guest speakers. But this year in 2021, she's actually bringing one module to life each month, and then next year people will be able to download the poster and listen to the whole lot in one go, in exactly the same way as we've done here. We've also created a book review club. That was an initiative that we created at the start of this year, because we know that readers are leaders. And we've created a podcast. This is run by the lovely Jenny, who was a BBC radio producer. And we're now in the top 10 of podcasts. So this is a great piece of PR for coaches, because it has you, the coach, and your coachee on the call. It's about 10-15 minutes. You just have a discussion, where were you on a certain subject, and where were you after the coaching. So it says to the public, wow, I didn't even know I could be coached on something like this. And it's a great thing to have in the toolkit of the practitioners themselves to promote. So that's doing really well. It's on Spotify, it's on iTunes, all over the place. And then we've got the secure members area, and I don't know how much you delve into this, Jenny. It's currently under construction and being repopulated, but ultimately the idea is that you would go into the resources section and you would find all the resources that you're likely to need when you set up a business. So some coaching contract templates, testimonial template, international invoicing templates, complaints procedures, all these wonderful documents that have been created for you that you can just download and tailor to suit your needs. And other value-added benefits.
Have a template. Oh, sorry,
what are you saying?
I said it's always useful to have a template.
It is. And then other value-added benefits. We're very passionate about mental health first aid, so we've got training for that. We've got a relationship with Reciprocoach. So this is great, Jenny, because your students who either want to build their confidence or want to build their hours on their coaching log, they can go to Reciprocoach and put in our code, and they will get the opportunity to build their hours and their confidence at a very, very small fee. I mean, we're talking like $55 for 6 hours. So be coached and give coaching. Discounted insurance, discounted professional adverts, discounted training. And this is all communicated through the weekly bulletin while you are busy coaching.
Wow, so much I've missed. And this is the part that I really love every year, is this annual event, CPD event. And I have to say, quite a few of my students, previous students and some current former students, attended this year's event, which was focusing on sales a lot, wasn't it? This year.
All things sales related.
And they were so inspired. They found it so useful and encouraging. It really is a good proactive thing to be part of, because it really does motivate doesn't it? This
It
listening
does.
to other coaches,
Yeah.
it's so positive,
Yeah.
contagiously positive.
Yeah. And where would you get access to 15 hours of world-class CPD focusing on sales, selling yourself on webinars,
Exactly.
selling yourself on social media, selling
Yeah,
yourself in discovery calls, selling yourself in a book, overcoming fear to selling, all those different expert speakers, that's worth thousands, and we do
yeah,
that, as you say, every year, and each year has a theme.
yeah,
So
yeah,
this year,
yeah,
all things sales related, because a lot of coaches, they come from an environment where they had a salary put into their bank account every month, and now they've gone freelance, and now they have to get used to asking for the money themselves, asking for their invoices to be paid, asking for sales, and they don't think of themselves as salespeople. Well, we wanted to demystify sales, because actually it's just another conversation, just as coaching is
yeah,
another
yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not rocket science. So there's a huge amount of masterclasses that you can download. So the return on investment statement
Yeah.
that I've got here on the right, as I say, last year represented over £6,000 worth of value added benefits. That's on top of the fact that you pay $297 to join the IAPC&M. Well, you don't join, you apply for your accreditation, because it's not automatic. So you have to go through the process. If we took away all these benefits, it wouldn't affect the price. These are just all complementary value added. And then our recent initiative is an accreditation program. So Jenny, for every student that you introduce, you will get £30 off your accreditation annual renewal fee. Likewise, if your students introduce colleagues and friends who are in the profession to the IAPC&M, and why wouldn't you? You're proud of your industry, you're proud of your accreditation body, keep mentioning it, and the more people that join, the more each and every one of us will be rewarded with an affiliation fee.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's got to be worth something, right? Accreditation process. Yeah, that's the the next question, isn't it? Really,
Yes.
is what exactly is the process? Because I think any kind of an assessment can make people feel a little bit nervous, because it's a bit like taking an exam, or it can feel a bit like taking an exam. So what is this process? I've been through it, so I know. But
yeah, well, this kind of links back to an earlier slide, doesn't it, Jenny, when we talked about the pride and the integrity. It's about having stepped up to something. You don't have to become accredited.
No,
it's not compulsory, but the
no,
fact is, you want to create that differentiator in the eyes of the client, that you are a best-in-class practitioner. So why wouldn't you then put the cherry on the cake and become accredited? So it's a very easy process. We're automated. We're a virtual business. You just go online and you choose the level that you want. The criteria is listed with each of the levels. You'll get an email confirming the portfolio of evidence that is required. You'll book your 30-minute assessment call if you're applying as an APC, a practitioner entry-level coach. You'll complete your self-reflection after that assessment call, and you'll sign the professional code of conduct. You'll fill out the standards and ethics questionnaire, which is about awareness. And on successful completion, you'll be invited to upload your profile into the directory, which is why where we're driving traffic all the time. You'll get your certificate and your logo, and this is valid for 3 years. And it doesn't matter whether you're a training provider like yourself, Jenny, or an individual like myself, or a university. Everybody has a review at the end of 3 years, just to check what we originally accredited is still being delivered and no bad habits have come up. And that takes the form of an interview. You maintain your annual renewal fee. As I say, for a practitioner, it's £140 a year, which is, I think, something like 38p a day. And you get access to all these benefits and an updated certificate every year. And as I say, the affiliation, which is optional for you to why wouldn't you join the affiliation program and make some passive income? So that's the accreditation process. Not everybody passes, Jenny, which is why we put together those 11 calls to help you better prepare. Because we don't want people thinking, oh, well, I've just taken my assessment call with Jenny and I've passed, so this is just a rubber stamp job. It's not. This is a proper assessment by an independent third party, which is maintaining the industry standards. So, you know, please do take this as seriously as we do. But I have to say that even the few, and it's less than 10%, the few people who haven't passed first time have said, I didn't pass, it was probably my own fault, I wasn't prepared. Fantastic feedback, really learned a lot from that, super excited to do it again. And so without exception, everybody's feedback has been brilliant, even the ones who, you know, didn't succeed first time. It's a massive confidence boost. You know, when we're talking about integrity, what this does to your confidence, having voluntarily put yourself through this and come out with a pass, it's amazing.
And knowing, because it's so robust, and you know, once you've got through it, otherwise what's the point of doing it if it's not going to be a robust service? You know, you want to know that you've been put through this.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not one of those bodies where you just pay a fee and you're a member. It doesn't.
Otherwise, what, you know, what's the point of that? So, and the feedback I found was very, very useful. But you know, in support of this, I know not everybody passes, but I think it's a step-by-step process that you do get walked through as well. What I like about it is you're not having to do too much at once. You start at, you know, step one, and you are taken through a gradual process. There's and David and you actually kind of walked me through that at each stage. So it's a layered process. It's very, very
I mean, it's candidate driven. Most people will complete within 2 to 6 weeks, depending on how easy it is to book, pull their portfolio of evidence together and book the assessment call. At practitioner level, there's no interview, but at senior level and upwards, there's also an interview. So it's about coordinating diaries, but normally people are done in 2 to 6 weeks. But not everybody wants to move that fast, and that's absolutely fine. So I think our next slide is when. So that kind of leads us nicely. Yeah, when to apply. Years ago, Jenny, people used to apply for their accreditation after they'd finished their course with you, and they got their certificate and they thought, right, what's the next step? Now I will go and become accredited. What we're increasingly finding is that students from training providers are applying for us, not just on day one when they start their course, but sometimes months in advance of starting their course. I've had some people this year who have started, applied for their accreditation, and they're getting access to all the benefits, but they just won't become accredited until the end. But they're getting access to all the business building benefits while they're waiting on a waiting list to go on, say, a September cohort of a training course to become a coach. So it's entirely up to you, but most students these days are doing them in tandem. They're studying to become a coach and they're building their business with us, so that when they are certified by you, they can then come straight to us with their certificate and say, right, book my 30-minute assessment call and get accredited very quickly afterwards. And that's part of their branding. I'm properly trained. They get the discounted insurance through us. They're professionally accredited. They get a discounted website through us if they want to, and they're really ready to go. But it's a personal choice. It depends on your domestic situation. If you're also holding down a job and you've got children, you know, you just might want to take it at a much slower pace. It's not a competition. It's when you're ready.
Nice to have the option, though, isn't it? It's good to have the option.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So I guess that's it. Oh no.
Yeah, it is it, really. I mean, we produce a monthly video with reviews, because it's not about taking my word for it or even your word for it, Jenny. I mean, your word more so than mine, probably, because you know, I'm part of the IAPC and growing the business. But you know, hear what the members have got to say. So we produce a monthly video. because we believe feedback is the lifeblood of any business. But there's plenty of reviews online as well for you to check.
Yeah.
It's all part of
One
your
of
due
those is mine, I
diligence.
think. Yeah. Okay, and there's your contact there, and David's contact.
Yeah, I mean, we firmly believe, like Gandhi says, your future depends on what you do today. You know, if you don't do it now, you might be wishing in, you know, a year's time, oh, I wish I'd been a bit more proactive. I wish I had done this. I would have been so much further down the road than I am now. I don't know, but just think about it. And if you're thinking, not now, well, ask yourself, if not now, when? What information do you need to help you make that decision so that you do follow through? And that's it, really. We look forward to welcoming you, as it says, to our global community of properly trained and professionally accredited practitioners around the world, as soon as you're ready. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Jenny. Unless there's any more questions.
No, because it's quite a comprehensive presentation.
Yeah, good.
Comprehensive presentation. So I think that really covers it all.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And as you know, anytime you get your students all together, I'd love to come back and answer questions one-to-one and make them feel part of something international. So once they've seen the video, either when you have your residentials or groups, you know, we can come back, or I'll meet them one-to-one on Zoom afterwards.
That's very kind of you, Dawn.
You're welcome.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. You're very generous, which is another part of this organisation that I love, is the generosity.
Yeah.
You know, because it's your time and you always freely give your time, so flexible, and that makes a huge difference, I think, rather than just know that you know, it's often you get in these memberships, you've just never met the person. And you get these emails going back and forth, and there's no personal relationship there whatsoever, but it's the personal relationship that counts for everything. Same as it would with a coach. It's all about the relationship that we have with our coaches that moves us forward. Essentially, it's them using themselves as a tool, and that's what you model beautifully, I think.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
As a professional body. So thank you, Dawn.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.